is so great to have music in this place again. Friends, there are times in church life when our hearts and minds are occupied by something that feels bigger than what we're accustomed to on a Sunday, bigger than our tradition or our ritual or our habit. And friends, there's a time in a pastor's life where the usual exegesis and message on the gospel feels lukewarm at best. And then I read a fellow pastor's notes this week, and I see these words she wrote to her colleagues. This is no time, she wrote, this is no time for fence-riding, lukewarm, tiptoeing leaders. And I'm reminded then of the words of Dietrich Bonhoeffer. One should preach with the Bible in one hand and the newspaper in the others. That's paraphrased, but something very close to that. So I make a shift on this Pentecost Sunday with a clear understanding that everything happening in our country is not separate or peripheral from our Sunday worship. And indeed, it is not separate or peripheral to our faith. In fact, worrying and fretful times are precisely when we live into our faith. Brian Doyle once wrote, "The story of our lives is grace under duress." What has risen up in our lives now, and I do say risen up because this is nothing new. This is just being brought out of the shadows and into the light. What has risen up matters to us. Matters this morning as we pray together, matters as we hold God's presence close in our discernment as a Christian community. So, friends, I tried to write a commentary about it on Friday. A commentary about race, division, and judgment from the context of my own experiences. Friends, I've been given the great gift, the gift of education. And I lift up time I shared in racism dialogue groups. I lift up my engagement in study and prayer and faith, my role in being lifted up from this people, as is our tradition here, as a spiritual and faith leader. Again, this is no time, my friend wrote, for fence-riding, lukewarm, tiptoeing leaders. I have thought and prayed and written and explained page after page. When I went to send it on Friday, it was over 4 pages long. You don't need that. You don't deserve that. Because this is not a time for me to be showing off and exercising what I know. This is a time to share my heart. God's rhythm in my heart. So this is what I wrote, and I want to share it with you. You see, it was a line from the Acts of the Apostles this morning that jumped off the page as I followed it through the week. Chapter 2. Verse 8, and how is it we hear, each of us, in our own native language? Acts 2, verse 8. I build off that. Can't we all just get along? Can't we all just get along? That's what I hear over and over in church and community conversations when we talk about race. I mean, why are they so messed up? They, in quotations, referring to the other. The other, be it the white supremacist, the angry black man, the meth head in the blighted apartment, the single mother whose children's behavior really bothers us, that guy who doesn't give a damn about anybody but himself, the girl that manipulates men to get what she needs, Here's the deal. We can get along. But in order to do that, we have to recognize and honor the true humanity of those we describe as the other. Okay, that's pastor speak, isn't it? So let me put it another way. Every one of those angry people that bother us, no matter what we think of them, are deeply loved by God. Repeat. Each selfish or rude or, at this point, pick your own adjective and target of disgust in your mind right now. Each one of them is God's own beloved, no matter what you or any of your friends or any social media posts say differently about it. Deeply loved by God. God's own beloved. It's maddening, isn't it? But that's what Jesus taught us. I like to say the phrase, you don't have to like them, but you do have to love them. And frankly, that kind of sucks. Pardon my language. Pardon my language, but you see, there are people who I'd like to slap upside of the head. There are people I'd be happy to never encounter again in this life. There are people whom I think cause more harm than good in this world, more crucifixion than resurrection. And, excuse me. And sometimes I think that maybe it'd be better if they no longer were active participants in this life. Wait. Yeah, that ain't right. I mean, I don't even know them, really. Did I really just go there? Because I have in my thoughts, friends, and I'm sure all of us have. You see, all of those jerks, as I call them, that I'm thinking of here, have a history and a story and a truth of their lives that have shaped and colored their lives with the behavior and the bluster that they presently express now. Just like you. I know, you don't bluster because you're Minnesotan and all, but you know what I mean. Oh, and by the way, this is good to remember, someone out there, known to you or not, thinks you're a big jerk. I mean, they might have let it go, they say, or you think they have, but they haven't forgotten. You know how these people are. So I lift all of this, all of these emotions, all of this energy, all this prayer up to God, and I'm reminded that I have to ask this question. Do I know their story? See, that's what I'm thinking. It is our call as Christians to honor their story and to hold it as true, their truth. We don't have to agree with their conclusions or behave just like they do, but their story is their truth. I grew up with racism in the suburbs of Chicago. In my preteen years, I remember in Des Plaines, Illinois, if you named a fairly major road, I could tell you what ethnicity lived there and what my people thought about them. At the Central Park that we all shared together, the black kids played basketball, the Latinos played soccer, and the white kids did Little League. We knew what we thought about the other. By the teen years, my people moved out. White flight is what they called it. And I'll just let that phrase sit there. And by high school, I wound up living in a community without much soul, without any tradition, with the white middle class looking back and commuting to the city. So I sit now on the porch here in Morgan Park, Duluth, Minnesota, and wave and chat and do my cheesy Paul thing here in this porch drinking springtime that we have to the neighbors that walk along. Strollers and training wheels and joggers and slow pokes, fluffy dogs and rat dogs and yoga pants and cargo shorts. Some are new here in this town. Some have been here since they had to wipe the dust off their windows from the concrete plant. Some remember the old grocery store. Some never even got to hang out at the Iron Mug. Do I mention class? Do I mention color? Or political values, or who they are and what I think of them? No. I listen to their stories. They are real. And like it or not, Mr. Pablo Van, you know that it is good to let them know that they are beloved children of God. Friends, I believe that. And by believe, I mean I do whatever I can with all the fits and starts that I have in my life to live into being that person. So here's where the cheesy sermon part comes in. If you haven't had enough cheese from me yet today, you knew it was coming. I am reminded in my prayer and lifting all of this to the light and love of God that paintings are beautiful for the balance and the contrast of colors, not uniformity. I am reminded that if I mix them all those different and seemingly opposing colors, if I mix them all together and try to make them all the same, they turn into this really gross, brown, yucky, gray color. And so I learned to celebrate colors in my life and honor the contrast and the balance of each of them. Let's go Bob Ross on this one. We all know Bob Ross, right? Sky and earth and happy little trees. After all, we do have enough gray and brown up here, at least 6 months of it, right? Each story, each truth of each individual is the unique color of their lives and their loves. And they are, friends, be they celebrating or suffering, struggling or standing tall, at peace or angry, eloquent or bellicose, powerful, meek, accepting, or intolerant. What I need to know and I need to remember is that they are beloved children of God. And how is it we hear, each of us, in our own native language, we read in Acts this morning? God's message to us. How is it we hear, each in our own native language, God's message to us? You, or he, or she, or that other we think of, you are a beloved child of God. So let's take that message, friends, and walk that way in our lives of faith. Friends, Christians, these are the moments that we, as Jesus-following Christians, are made for. These are the moments where God's last word of love is ringing off our lips and moving through our hands and heads and hearts to reflect that gorgeous message. This is precisely the time that our faith should shine. Peace be with you, friends. I just want to sit here and sing that song all day. Remind me, next week I will give you page numbers, okay? Sorry about that. We come to a time of joys and concerns. I'll be honest, I have nothing written down. So we're going to work on this together, those of us in the group, and we'll remember as we go. First, I want to share again that we are not sharing individual names and joys and concerns right now because we're publishing this message publicly. and you are most welcome and encouraged to join the prayer chain in our prayer time together. But we know there is so